on your water and sewer costs. Then we have Cody Mack from Coletti, who's going to talk about pressure reducing valves, tank mixer, Legionella protection, and mixing valves, and a few other products. And then Gabe from True Tankless is going to talk about his product, the electric tankless water heater that requires no maintenance. During the presentation, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat bar in the bottom there. If there's something of utter importance that you want to ask a question right away, there's also a little status hand in the bottom right-hand corner. You can raise your hand with that, and we can stop and unmute your mic and answer any questions. As I mentioned, we're going to record this, so we'll be able to send out copies to everybody who hasn't made it on today, and of course you'll have a copy for those who are on here. So for starters, I want to talk a little bit about the smart valve and what it is. And essentially what the smart valve does is it corrects a mistake that 99% of the water meters out there make, which is that they don't distinguish between water and air. They only count volume. This product is available in both residential and commercial sizes, from 3/4 inch up to 12 inch. Can be installed horizontally or vertically, as you can see from some of the pictures here. It's double threaded. It's double threaded up to 12 inch. I'm sorry, double threaded up to 2 inch, and available up to 12 inches in size. It's also the only externally self-adjusting valve that's on the market. So how does the smart valve work? What the smart valve essentially does is it's installed on the user side of the meter after any backflow prevention device, but before any pressure reducing valve or any other type of equipment like a booster system. And what the smart valve does is it creates a steady back pressure through the water meter. So the result of that is, first, any pockets of air that are within the line are going to be compressed down, so they're very tiny. So when they pass through the meter, they're not going to register. It's also going to make sure that as the water passes through the meter, it comes through as a steady stream. So it prevents the meter from overspinning and prevents the meter from, it eliminates any cavitation in the line in and around the water meter. So some of the key points to the smart valve, and the first one is the real important one. Over 70% of the users save at least 20% on water and sewer usage, and over 98% save at least 10%. What we've seen over the last 12 months, the lowest registered return, or savings I should say, has been 14%. And the range has been between 14 and 35% over the last year, and that's with hundreds of valves sold. Our average result is right around 20%. So you're going to more than likely be in that 15 to 25% savings. David, I know we're looking at a commercial application for you. The other major part of these key points here, usually less than a year on commercial installations for a return on investment. We actually do a proposal for you, and I'll explain that in a minute, where we actually break down what your savings will be, because there really is no bad result with smart valve. It's typically good, great, or extraordinary. The USA-made product has a 10-year manufacturer's warranty, and we offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. So it gives you time to actually get it installed, see your next water bill, see the results, and then we also help you troubleshoot. If you have a lower result, and we've had people come back and say, "Oh, I only saved 12%," we try to work with those folks and try to get them a better result, because typically it's much higher. It's usually a high teens result, up to around 20%. We've had about 10 returned out of over 10,000 sold. It's a outer shell is constructed of acetron. Inner parts are all food grade stainless steel. It's completely manufactured within the United States. All the parts are USA made, and it's also self-lubricating, so it prevents any clogging within the valve. and also can be set where you have no reduction in PSI. And the big feature again is that it's adjustable. So if things change within the property or in your home or whatever application you're using it in, we can always adjust the smart valve externally. You don't have to do a building shutdown. You don't have to go back and hire somebody to come out and, you know, take the valve out and open it up and adjust it and put it back in. Ours is all externally adjustable. And what I like about it is there's no maintenance, no additional work required. Once it's in, set it and forget it. You can always adjust it. But once it's in, all you're going to do is start saving on your water and sewer bills. Just one of the results here. I didn't want to take too much time on Smart Valve today because we've done a few other webinars already. But here's an example of a guy in New York City who installed one. This was an 1.5-inch line. His water bill before Smart Valve, and again, I don't know if you can see the number there. Left, it was $838. After the Smart Valve went down to $621. So it was a 26% reduction. And there's at least 6 or 7 other ones like this on our website for you to see. I just want to put this one up because he actually wrote us a nice email the other day. I didn't put it up because he wrote it in all caps, which I thought was kind of funny, but he's actually been saving on a quarterly basis since, you know, this was installed back in late 2017. Over the last year and a half, he's been saving between 22 and 27% every single quarter, and he's absolutely thrilled with the Smart Valve. So what we offer to you, if you're a property manager on the call today, we offer you a free evaluation of your property with some basic information you provide us. Typically, size of the incoming line, your average water or sewer bill, a few pictures in and around the water meter, and we're able to give you an idea what your potential savings will be, what your return on investment will be, and we do all that for you at no cost. If you're a plumber on this call, we actually have specific programs to help educate your customers, provide marketing help, training, and so much more. Any questions? David, do you have any questions on anything with the Smart Valve? I'm going to unmute your mic here. Okay, so I guess we're good to go. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Gabe. He's going to start talking about Coletti. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, Gabe. I'm sorry, Cody, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, Mike. Well, thanks for having us, and really appreciate taking the time to have us here today. And today we're going to be talking about some of the new products and some of the products that Capital Distribution is going to have available for its customers, like our pressure reducing valves, our thermostatic and electronic mixing valves as well. And we're also going to talk a bit about Legionella. It's quite a hot topic these days, and so we want to touch on that and make sure that you know how best to apply our products to make sure your customers are happy, so, and make sure they're safe as well. So before we get too far, I want to go over some of the great literature that we have available in our hydronics technical journals. We produce 2 of these every year on a wide range of topics, and they are completely free for anybody that wants to access them. You can go right on our website and download them as a PDF. Otherwise, you can actually go on our website and sign up, and we will mail you a color printed hard copy right in the mail, again, at no extra charge, no charge to you, no, not even shipping and handling, and it comes right to you. And what we're talking about today is a lot of plumbing stuff, and so I just wanted to point out that we have actually quite a few plumbing related hydronics technical journals, like issue number 21, 22, and number 11 there. And so with that in mind, don't hesitate to do that. I can't stress enough how much of a great resource these are. They're basically like free textbooks. So just wanted to get that out of the way here real quick, and we can dive right into pressure reducing valves. The pressure reducing valves has been a big splash for us into the plumbing market. If you're familiar with our products in general, you probably know us pretty well from hydronics and heating applications and everything like that. But the pressure reducing valve really is putting us on the map as far as plumbing products are concerned. And this product was actually the 535H series, was rolled out a couple of years ago, and it was a global initiative for Coletti as a whole. And so basically we had a baseline product, and every single country that wanted one basically got it catered to whatever standards they needed to abide by. And so you might notice right off the bat that it's a kind of an interesting look for a product. It's kind of got that aerodynamic look and everything else. And what that's there for is to help encourage flow through the body with little or basically less pressure drop through it. You'll notice there at the top, we've got a nice big knurled knob that allows you to adjust it between 15 and 90 PSI, which is quite a bit wider of a window than most of the other manufacturers. And then right below that knob, you actually have a set point window. And there's one of those windows on each side. So if you're installing the unit up against a wall, you can see it from either side. And what this is going to allow you to do is actually see your set pressure before you actually turn it on. You can actually preset it, and they actually come preset at 45 PSI, but say you wanted to crank it up to 60 PSI, you can do that before you ever even get it wet. And so from there, we offer this particular series in 1/2-inch to 2-inch sizes, everything from 1/2-inch to 2-inch sizes, and we offer it in a wide range of connection types. You'll notice how on each end of the pressure reducing valve there's a union, and that union allows us to take from the body and go to sweat, press, NPT, PEX connections, whatever you need to be using, and we make that available for you. So we also offer an option of the gauge. You can see it there in the picture, and that's just a standard NPT tapping that you can add a gauge to down the road if you happen to get one without a gauge or anything like that. And it is rated for up to 300 PSI. And so this is going to be good for most applications in your high-rise buildings and everything like that, up to obviously a certain extent. So from there, again, we are meeting all of the codes or standards for ASSE for backflow or pressure reducing valves. We're also going to be low lead, so it's not going to be an issue for using us in potable water. And we are also NSF 61, which is a testing standard for water quality, and we're actually rated to the highest standard of NSF 61, which is commercial hot water. So we're rated for up to 180 degrees. So if you are using a pressure boosting system for hot water as well as cold water, we can be used on both sides. So not a big deal there at all. Some of the things that really set us apart on this particular valve, I talked about that setting window and the option for the gauge and the dual unions and everything like that. But what's really cool about this is that the cartridge can be removed so easily to take it apart and clean it. There's not a pressure reducing valve on the market that's going to be, that's not going to require some service at some point, because water inherently just has some nasty stuff in it. And so when you look at other manufacturers, in order to take it apart, you got to have a rebuild kit that consists of 6 or 7 pieces, and you've got to undo a handful of bolts or more in order to get it out of there, and hopefully the bolts come out. And whereas ours, that whole cartridge assembly comes right out of the body while the valve is still in the pipe. Obviously you want to have isolation in there, but you can take that out. You can even see there in that bottom right picture where you've got actually a screen that envelops the entire cartridge. Now, if you get that screen all plugged up and full of stuff, you can pull that guy out of there and wash that screen out really easily and put it back together again with no problem. Now, we do also sell replacement cartridges as well. So if you need to replace the whole thing, you can do that as well. As far as materials that we're made out of, we use peroxide cured EPDM for a lot of our seals, or all of our seals. And basically what this is going to mean for your customers or for your applications is that it's going to hold up to really nasty water. We also use low friction anti-scale parts, which means that if you have hard water, it's going to be less likely to scale up and more likely to continue on when others have failed. And then from there, we also have a large flow chamber, which is going to help reduce wire draw corrosion, which is just due to some high velocity issues and everything like that. And so it's just going to have a lot easier time letting water through the valve as opposed to a lot of other manufacturers. So this is going to be our 535H series. And this was, again, a flagship product for us into the plumbing markets a couple of years ago. But what we actually just recently introduced was our compact model, which is the 533H series. This guy's going to have a lot of the same guts and internals that you're going to find in that 535H series, but we took out some of the niceties, you know, and this is just what's going to make it a compact, financially, basically it's going to make it a more economical model for those cases where maybe price is an issue. And so this particular valve has been in production for many, many years. It's actually boasted as the world's most recognized PRV. And you'll actually find too that we have a lot of copycats from some of the other foreign markets. But this valve is only going to be available in 1/2 and 3/4 inch sizes. And you'll notice how we have a union on one end and we actually have a female NPT connection on the other end. And so that union allows you to do sweat, NPT, press, PEX, whatever you want. And then obviously you've got that female NPT connection on the outlet side. You still got the option for the gauge, just like we have on the 535H. We also offer it in a body only application. So if you're looking to stock this on a truck and maybe you know, you want to have some options, you can stock just the body only, and then you can get tail pieces for the ends to go to sweat, press, PEX, whatever you're looking for, you know, whether it be a residential application, or maybe you can't have a flame in there, so you got to put press on it, or whatever the case may be in the building. So again, all the same specifications as far as the 535, it's, you know, similar to the larger models that we have available. Same approvals, same materials, and it's going to just basically be a cost fighter there for a lot of those jobs where it's a little bit more price sensitive. So you can see there, just like the 535H series, we have a removable cartridge, and so you can take it apart and clean it if necessary. From there, you can replace that cartridge again if necessary. So that way, if you do have some nasty water and it gets away from you after a while, you can just pop that guy right out. And again, you've got the gauge on there as an option as well. And what I forgot to mention with the 535H series is that we actually have a locking mechanism on that 535H series, which is the model before this, which is actually a screw that's in the middle of the knob on the other models. On this one, actually, you adjust the pressure with the screw that's right in the middle of the top there. And if you want to have it to be tamper resistant, we actually have a cap that's included. So you can actually pop a different cap on there to prevent the homeowner or the tenant or whoever the case may be from tampering with it. So another great resource that we offer is going to be our Coffee with Coletti webinars. These webinars we actually produce once a month. Again, wide range of topics. We've been doing these webinars for many years now, and actually next month, or I don't know, a few weeks from now, even 3 weeks from now, myself and Bob Rohr, we're going to be doing a webinar on controlling pressure and plumbing systems. And we're going to talk about pressure reducing valves, and we're going to talk about expansion and plumbing systems. We're going to talk about shock and things like that. And again, this is a completely free webinar that you can log on to and get yourself educated on some neat topics and some neat products. And from there, if you aren't available to make that webinar when it is live, we record all these and they all go onto our YouTube channel. So if you're not available to watch it live, still sign up, because then what we end up doing is if you didn't actually attend the webinar, we'll email you a link saying, hey, here it is on YouTube, and you can go right to it. Now we're going to get into our thermostatic mixing valves. We have a large line of thermostatic mixing valves, and everything from 1/2 inch to 2 inch in brass thermostatic mixing valves, from lower flows to higher flows. But what we wanted to focus on with this particular presentation was a new model that we made available here, and we call it our angle mix. And one of the things you'll notice right off the bat is that it's a very elegant looking valve, but it's not the typical T-shaped mixing valve, because what you're going to find here is that the hot inlet and the mixed outlet is right in line with each other. And so that is just basically going to allow for less fittings and less screwing around on the job, and you can get that mixing valve installed quicker. And then you've got the cold outlet coming out of the side, so you can get that guy around to the other side of the water heater to your cold. Now, these mixing valves are going to temper as a point of distribution mixing valve. So these are going to be installed typically at your at your water heaters. And you say, for example, you get a tank type water heater that's a 40 gallon, and you get that homeowner that's a little perturbed because that 40 gallons only lasts, teenager Jimmy one shower, and then she tries to get in the shower and there's no hot water left. And so what this allows you to do is you can crank that temperature up on that water heater, say to 130, 140, or even higher, and then you can safely temper that water down to a safe temperature going out to your fixtures, 120, and in effect you can get a higher capacity out of that water heater. And so mixing valves just in general require flow to be stable. And so there are some larger mixing valves in our lineup that require several gallons per minute in order to produce a stable outlet temperature. This one is designed to be accurate down to about a half a gallon per minute. This valve is going to be a great application, or it's going to be great in applications like your standard single family residential. And so if you get any of those applications, this is where you just want to eke a little bit more capacity out of that water heater. This is going to be a great option for you. Just like our pressure reducing valves, we're using a lot of anti-scale materials inside there. So the shuttle and everything and all the internals are going to be composites that are going to resist scaling. So if you do have hard water, obviously we're always going to recommend water softening equipment or some type of water treatment equipment, and just to make sure you're protecting all your fixtures even further downstream. But it'll survive a little bit longer in those harsh water applications if you don't have treatment. It is going to be NSF 372. It's low lead, so you can use it in potable water applications. It can also be used in hydronics as well. So if you're using a mixing valve to temper the water for a low temp application like radiant inflow, this would be a great application for those as well. And we also have a locking cap, so it can be you can resist tampering with it from the homeowner or the building owner or anybody you just don't want messing with it. And you'll notice there we've actually got an option for a temperature gauge. And this temperature gauge is actually in a dry well. And so it's not a wet gauge or anything like that, but it gives you a really good place to get your outlet temperatures. And so that way you know you've got that thing dialed in appropriately. We also offer the options for inlet check valves. There are certain jurisdictions that require check valves on the inlets for the hot and cold inlet. And so if you do require those, these are going to typically prevent migration between the hot and cold side. So that way you're not going backwards or anything like that and sending heat up that cold pipe. And so we offer them with check valves as well. And just like our pressure reducing valves, we have the unions on there, and the unions allow us to go to press. As you can see there, we also offer sweat, press, or sweat, NPT, PEX, and we also offer PEX crimp or expansion. So if you're a crimp ring guy or a expanded PEX A guy, it'll work with either one. And then we also offer the flexibility, just like the pressure reducing valves, where you can just buy the body only, and then from there you can stock different tail pieces to go to different piping connections, which is a great thing for flexibility as well. But what this angle mix really evolved into was what we refer to our tank mixer, or we refer to it as our tank mixer. And so this is designed to be one of those very efficient products that'll make your job easier in the field, because you're not only limiting the amount of fittings and whatnot with the angle mix, but with the tank mixer, we actually have the fittings that allow you to connect directly to a 3/4 inch dielectric nipple on 40 or 50 gallon water heater. You come out, you've got that stainless steel corrugated hose to go from the cold inlet on the mixing valve over to that cross on the cold side. So that way you can get that water, to get it over and get it mixed. You've got enough there to get around the flue pipe or any type of combustion fan or inducer motor. And then from there on the outlet side of it, you've actually got the press connections there, as you can see on the one model. But we also offer sweat. You can do whatever you want, really, but in most cases you do have to have some hard pipe coming out of the water heaters, so you got to be a little careful on those particular codes. Also on that cross that's going to be on the cold side over here, is on the back side of it, we've got a 1/2 inch NPT female connection as well. And what this is going to allow you to do is have a great place to put in a recirculation system. And so if you've got a tapping there, you can use that and bring your recirc right back to that guy as well. So one thing that's great about the tank mixer is that it is a complete kit. Like I said, you have direct connection with the 3/4 inch NPT female connections to go right to your tank outlets on your 3/4 inch dielectric nipples. You've got the press or sweat connections going to your piping on the outlet, and then the optional temperature gauge, just like we had on the angle mix. We've got the integrated recirc port. Again, I talked about this before, you can increase the capacity of your water heaters. And when we started to run into these issues with the water heaters requiring greater insulation values, that means that the tank is going to get larger. And there's some cases where you've got 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag and you're not fitting a larger water heater in there, which means you got to try and do more with less. And so another really nice benefit to having a higher tank temperature to increase capacity of your water heater is that you're also going to help prevent bacterial growth within those water heaters. And that's kind of what leads us into the Legionella discussion. And it's becoming more and more apparent these days that it's nothing to mess around with. If you have compromised immune systems or anything like that, it's something that you definitely need to be aware of. There was even a recent case in Ohio here that was just in the news last week in a hospital of all places where they were running into issues with Legionella and Legionnaires disease. But what this takes us into is our electronic mixing valve. And this is what we're going to refer to as our Legiomix. And this valve we actually introduced a couple years ago. This valve has actually been in production in the European market since the early 2000s. And so it's not new to us as a company, but it's new to us in North America here. This is going to be an electronic point of distribution or a master mixing valve for typically your commercial domestic hot water systems, but obviously you're going to run into some residential applications that might as well be commercial. This is going to be the standard ASSC 1017 mixing valve for point of distribution. It's going to be low lead, so you can use it without any trouble from your inspectors. And one thing that's cool about this, just like our tank mixer, is that the one code number is going to get you the complete system. It's going to get you your valve, your actuator, your control, and all the sensors that you need, including that temperature gauge on the outlet as well. And so this whole thing is going to work in harmony. The control is going to operate the actuator. The actuator is going to turn a ball inside that valve, and it's going to temper that water to whatever you have it set for. These mixing valves can also be a standalone mixing valve, meaning that it just works all on its own. It can also be connected to a building automation system. We have a gateway that allows you to connect it directly up to a BACnet IP or BACnet MSTP system. So that's going to be really a great feature for a lot of your commercial buildings, because they want to be able to see all of that data and make sure that the whole building's safe and everything's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It can also be used in hydronic applications. This is going to be a rare thing, but if you needed a set point mixing valve for a thermostatic or for a hydronic application, you can use it for that as well. The Legiomix is available in 1-inch through 2-inch sizes. Just like a lot of our other products, we've got union connections. We are offering these in sweat, NPT, and press connections currently. It is going to be a 3-way ball valve. Okay, this ball valve is a great thing because it allows for really high flow rates with really low pressure drops. And one thing that's also great about a ball valve is that it's just inherently less prone to scaling up like your cartridges that are in your thermostatic mixing valves, because there's just not as much stuff in the way. And so from there, everything is low lead, so it can be used in your potable water. We talked about peroxide cured EPDM in our pressure reducing valves, so the seals are gonna hold up to really terrible water conditions. And I talked about the ball valve, the 3-way ball valve, having really high flow rates. We were actually going to be the highest flow rates, highest flow capacity in the industry as far as our competitors are concerned. So some of them are using ball valves, but they're typically using a smaller ball valve. But one thing that's also great about a 3-way ball valve is that it allows you to have no minimum temperature difference between the hot inlet and the mixed outlet like you're going to have with a thermostatic mixing valve. So if you have a 120 degree tank and you want 120 degrees out of that mixing valve to Legiomix, you're going to be able to do it. Whereas most of your thermostatic mixing valves, they can't completely close off the cold inlet. And so this is kind of an issue. But one thing that this can do is it can completely close off hot or cold inlets, bubble tight, and it just helps out a lot with that stuff. And another thing that's really, this has actually been a great selling point for a lot of our buyers of this valve, is that it actually has a self-cleaning feature that it actually operates daily. It's called the anti-clog feature. And what it's going to do is it's going to spin that ball inside the valve a full sweep in each direction once every 24 hours. And the idea there is to remove any scale that's going to be on that ball valve or on the ball, and try to get it off there, so that way it doesn't work in the same small window of adjustment for a long time, and then all of a sudden it starts scaling, and then it can't move outside of that adjustment. And so again, daily self-cleaning feature is going to be a great thing for those with poor water quality, and it'll make life a lot easier. You can turn it off if you want to, but by default it's going to be on. From there, what we started offering this year is our Legionnaires stations. This is going to be a completely pre-piped rack assembly on Unistrut. It's going to have ball valves for isolation. It's going to have 3/4 inch garden hose thread connections on the recirc return and the mixed outlet, so that way you can do your testing and you can purge out your recirc line. From there, you're going to have check valves in all the right places on the inlets, as well as where the recirc comes back and splits and goes back to the tank. And everything is completely pre-wired. So your control is wired up with all the sensors and the actuator, and the only thing you got to do is hang it on the wall, put the pipes to it, and then you got to plug it in. And we've got a 20-foot cord with a 24-volt transformer that you just plug right into the wall. And it's really very straightforward. So we offer that in 1 through 2 inch sizes as well. Again, pre-piped on the Unistrut. It's going to show up in a pallet. You unbolt it, you hang it on the wall, and you're almost good to go right off the bat. So one thing that makes our Legionnaires, it kind of sets it apart, is that well, first and foremost, it's just a mixing valve, and so if you're working on some of those applications that require an electronic mixing valve versus a thermostatic, this is going to be a great option for you, and it's going to do really, really well at that, but what really sets this Legionnaires apart is that it has the ability to help control Legionella bacteria. I talked about it a little bit before, but Legionella is a bacteria that's inhaled into the lungs through a water vapor. So think of like a shower or those misters that you'll find at the grocery store or at the park or some of the amusement parks and things like that. And this bacteria can cause Legionnaire's disease. And I'm not a doctor, and nor do I pretend to be one on TV, but it presents itself like a pneumonia or a flu-like symptoms. And again, you get those particular people that have compromised immune systems, like the elderly and small children, things like that. And they're going to be greatly affected by this. And we've had such an incredible increase in reports on Legionnaire's disease over the past handful of years. It's just becoming more and more apparent. And there's a lot of factors as to why this is happening, but we need to have a solution so that way we can keep people safe. And there's a lot of different options out there, but what the Legionnaires allows you to do is actually schedule and control a thermal disinfection. So as far as controlling Legionnaire's disease or Legionella bacteria inside of a system, one thing you can do is you can actually thermally disinfect your piping. And this is what you're going to do is raise the temperature of your system, as opposed to circulating 120 degrees out to your fixtures through a recirc system. You're going to bump that actually up to 160 degrees. And typically you're going to do this once a day for about 15 to 30 minutes. And this 160 degree water is going to instantly kill any Legionella bacteria in that system. And so again, there are other ways of taking care of Legionella bacteria or just bacteria in general. Typically, they involve a lot of chemicals like chlorines, chloramines. You can use ozone or UV. You can also use some of the copper or silver ionization. It's typically going to be a much more expensive upfront cost. And so what you've got with thermal disinfection here is you've already got the mixing valve, you've already got the tank and the water heater. From there, you incorporate this and you incorporate a few other things, and you're good to go. Now, obviously, you need to circulate that water while you're thermally disinfecting the system. So you need to make sure your recirc pump is running, and the control will help you with that as well if you need it. you also are going to need, or you're going to be required to have anti-scald protection at your fixtures. So anti-scald shower valves or point of use mixing valves for your fixtures, like your faucets and things like that. Because if you're sending 160-degree water out through the system, we're typically going to be doing that at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But if somebody wakes up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and they need to wash their hands, you got to protect those people so that way they're not getting scalded at the fixtures. But what you're going to typically have is a lower initial upfront costs and operational costs, because you're not going to have all that extra equipment for chemicals and things like that. You're also not going to have to worry about flushing systems, and you're not worried about chemicals not working or not being dosed correctly or anything like that. It's typically just a much safer and much more viable option that's readily available. So in the end, we've got a lot of cool products in our catalog, and I know Mike can help you out with that as well. And these are just a few of them, but we've got a really broad and extensive catalog that I would invite you to take a look at. Everything from hydronic applications to plumbing. We dabble a little bit in the renewable energy as well, as far as solar and geothermal. There's a lot of really cool stuff. And so if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to call us. And I think at this point, I'll turn it back over to you, Mike, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Cody. Appreciate it. Quickly, I just wanted to show you guys some of the pricing that we offer on the Cleffy products that that Cody just mentioned. I think you'll find our pricing is very competitive. In fact, I think we're actually much priced better than most of the people out there, if not all of them. For example, the Legio mix, which like Cody mentioned, is a very big thing, especially in institutions, nursing homes, so on and so forth. It's a very affordable part that can save you guys a lot of headaches. And I think if you take a look on our website, and we're going to have some specials on the Cleffy stuff as well, you'll see our pricing is better than pretty much everybody I've seen out there. So I think it's something that you guys should take a look at. As Cody mentioned, I think the catalog is about 120 pages long. We have that on our website as well. We're starting to list products on our online store. And for you plumbers out there, obviously, if you're looking at stocking certain products, we're happy to work with you on that as well. So I'm going to turn this over to Gabe now. He's going to talk about True Tankless. So let me open up his. Give me 1 second. We're just going to share. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, Gabe, it is all yours. Oh, wait, let me turn your mic on. That might help. Okay, Gabe, can you hear us? Gabe? I'm not sure if we lost Gabe there. He probably was... All right, let's give Gabe a second. Maybe he stepped away for a minute. Or maybe he's having a little trouble with his mic. But basically, just to give you a quick idea before Gabe starts, True Tankless is it's an electric tankless water heater that we are. Go ahead, Gabe. It's all yours. Can you? I turned your mic on. You should be able to. Actually, David has a question real quick. Let me open up his mic for a minute. David, your mic should be on. Go ahead. Okay, David, do you have a mic?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, this is Gabe. Sorry.
Oh, it's Gabe. Okay, I'm sorry. David had a quick question. Let me just see what his question was. He has his hand up. David, can you hear us? I think your mic is on. It should be. It is. I'm not sure why your mic's not working. David, can you type your question in the chat box in the bottom? If for some reason it's not, we can't hear you. I don't know if your mic isn't working, or I see you have your hand up. Okay, I'm going to switch back to Gabe for a minute, and let me just pull up his. Here you go. All right, so everybody see the True Tankless screen. I'm going to work the slides for you, Gabe. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yeah, actually, it's not a big deal, but I have there should be an updated one that there is for this that has my information in the top left corner.
Okay.
That anybody can.
I'm not sure if I can update it to this now. I'll definitely send it out in the email though afterwards. I'll make sure we put your contact information and all that with the email when we send out this webinar to everybody.
Sure. So, well, my name is Gabe Tiarina, and I'm with a company called True Tankless out in Phoenix, Arizona. And we pride ourselves and making this product as we are a manufacturer of a whole home and light commercial electric tankless water heater. We have been public selling the product since January of 2014. We did 3 years of R&D before we actually publicly produced this product to make sure that we were putting out a quality electric tankless that plumbers and contractors and builders are starving for, and not having some, under the counter or mid-level priced throwaway water heater in a few months or a few years. We are trying to put out a product that is a 20 to 25 year life expectancy, and give the customers what they need and plumbers what they need to be able to talk about an option on the electric side. The main thing though is, if you want to change that, you can, Mike. The main thing is, and I'm going to skip around because the presentation's kind of skipped around, but that I want to go through is later in the slides. But we do have a Wi-Fi enabled unit. The unit does come with the enabling to hook up to the home Wi-Fi or business Wi-Fi. So if you were to ever have any errors in the system, you wanted to look at your hot water usage daily, monthly, and annually, or you wanted to just simply change the temperature up and down, you can do that remotely with the unit with Android or iPhone. But that's not an extra cost. A lot of tankless water heaters on the gas or electric side, or mostly on the gas side, like a Navien, have an extra cost that's added into that to have the unit be enabled for doing that. Now, we are the only electric tankless that has this function. Usually some of them just have knobs on the front to change the temperature, or hey, you can only have this unit keep up to this temperature and it doesn't really have a temperature sensor, or set point. So with our product, you can set it from between 90 to 140 degrees on the residential side, and you can go from up to 180 degrees on the light commercial side. But it will have the ability for any plumbers on a retrofit that wanted to have a customer that likes this type of thing. I'm 36 years old. I bought my first home a few years ago. There's a lot of these younger guys that are starting to come in and buy homes, and couples that are looking for home automation and looking for smart appliances. So that's a key thing for maybe a selling point for a retrofit. On the new build sense, makes sense if you wanted to be able to use the smart opportunity in smart homes. You want to click to that next one then, Mike?
Sure.
Typically what we see for the smart home technology is that, as you can see on this chart that we kind of just put together, 2015 really didn't matter. Smart homes and the smart home technology was just kind of starting. Last year, it kind of grew immensely. And for what we're seeing from all of this is about 75 billion, smart appliances or things by 2025 are going to end up growing drastically throughout the United States and generally globally. So we wanted to jump on this, and like I said before, we started this in 2014. We wanted to jump on this quicker than anybody else did for especially the electric tankless side, because again, this is going to be one of those things that people are going to want, other than their refrigerator telling them that they're out of milk, or so on and so forth. So AC units now do it, and recirc pumps, everything else that can be smart home oriented. So. But if you click to the next one, the main thing that you want to know is energy savings. Energy savings with a true tankless, of course. A lot of people have a stigma of saying that an electric tankless is going to make my electric bill go up. Especially with our product, that is absolutely incorrect. Depends on your usage, on how you're going to use. Of course, if you're going to be, a 45-minute shower taker as opposed to a 12-minute shower taker, that's going to have some influx in what your electric bill is going to go up for. But typically, if you're going from a tank-style water heater on the electric side, you're going to see a vast ROI, let's say, going from a electric tank to true tankless. Now, our product only uses power based on flow rate, just like a gas tankless water heater. So there's an impeller that is a flow meter on the inside that is all dictated for a sensor that reads the rotations of how fast or slow the wheel is going. Now, that's going to dictate how much power is actually being pulled at that time. But again, it mimics kind of what gas tankless has done. So when somebody says, hey, I've got one shower going on at 1.2 gallons per minute, it's only utilizing power to heat 1.2 gallons per minute. So that's a big thing. If people are saying, well, I heard that it's going to make my electric bill go up, that's incorrect. Of course, we're literally going to be heating minutes a day as opposed to hours a day. I don't know what happened there. If you want to go ahead and click to the next one, you can absolutely do so. As you guys know, tank to style water heaters have been around for ages and haven't really gotten any better on just the sole tank style water heater. So of course, that's a big thing that we want to make sure that, if a water heater is only supposed to last for 6 to 8 years, roughly, anything over that's kind of quote unquote borrowed time. With us being, like I said before, 20 to 25 years, as you can see, we will be generally saving a lot more money on ROI. We're probably looking at 3 to 5 years, depending on how big your household is. Your normal standard 4-person home, 64 gallons of hot water used daily, which is the national average. You're typically going to be looking roughly at about 1,600 kilowatts saved annually, because usually those tank style water heaters are about 5,000 kW used annually. True tankless is calculated when we went through ETL approval at 3,400 kW used annually. Go ahead and click that next one. The big thing that we want to start talking about next, which I think the next slide kind of bullet points a little bit more, this graphic here is just showing that we do have 4 heating elements on the inside of our product. They're much larger heating elements on the inside, and they are proprietary to True Tankless and made with a ink alloy metal. Ink alloy metal is the best heating element metal you can get on the market. With that being said, we do an extra sheathing process on the outside of these so that it takes it one step further, so that we do not have that sediment buildup as reads. The ink alloy heating elements achieve the desired temperature output without flash boiling and getting the job done to the fraction, which generally a lot of the electric tankless are much smaller heating elements because they have much smaller heating exchangers, because they're a lot more compact, roughly 18 to 24 pounds. But with our product, we're about 38 pounds, and we have a much more robust exchanger with much more robust heating elements to keep the temperature down. When you have more surface area, you keep the temperature down drastically. So we're looking to heat the elements about 400, 450 degrees, somewhere around there. And then that really alleviates a lot of the sediment buildup, especially with that ink alloy metal. And then on top of that, we have a horizontal downward flush design of our heat exchanger, which means every time a customer inside their house is turning on hot water, there's constant fluidity happening. So if you want to switch to that next one, Mike. We are 99% efficient. Okay, back to kind of what I was saying before is as you can see also to that heat exchanger, it shows you downward horizontal flush. But 99% efficient, we're literally 99 cents out of a dollar. We're really trying to keep into heating the water. On this graphic right here, you can see the heat exchanger looks like white. That is a thermal ceramic coating that we put on our heat exchanger. The 99% efficient is, and the 99 cents out of a dollar is we're really trying to hone in on any heat that's coming off of that heat exchanger, those heating elements are really going right back into heating the water. On that very, very top heating element, you can see there's a couple of heat switches or heat sinks. Those put off heat, but again, we're really, really trying to focus on using any of the energy that's produced out of that heat exchanger to go right back into heating the water. So that's a big, big thing too. On this graphic and kind of going a little bit further, as you can see, there's internal breakers in our unit. We actually utilize less breaker space in the panel because we have those built-in breakers. So that to the right of the four internal breakers is a terminal block. That terminal block, of course, is where you would hook up your single two-pole breaker or two-pole breaker wiring method if you're a plumber/electrician, or you would have your electrician come in and do. But utilizing our four heating elements with those four breakers literally eliminates the need for an electrician to put in a sub panel, and that's what the main focus is. You can switch to that next one too, Mike.
I think that's the last one on here.
Okay. All right. It does say 7 out of 7. The main things I want to just cover real quick while we're looking at the unit, though, it is a Type K copper heat exchanger with that thermal ceramic coating on the outside and that horizontal downward flush manifold design. The big thing is what Mike has put up on his on Capital is basically that there is no requirement of flushing annually with our product. Basically, it's self-maintaining with the all of the materials that I had talked about, and the reason why this product is actually needing no filtration or softening as well. Now, that's of course you guys as plumbers out there know the water quality in your area. So of course, I'm just saying it's not required to keep the warranty in contact, but please, if you absolutely want to put filtration or softening with it, you definitely can. But the main thing is just there is no requirement of that to keep the warranty in contact. And on top of that too, we are allowed, or you are allowed to install a recirculation pump, because there are customers out there that want technically instant hot water. And we all know that tankless water heaters do not do instant hot water. They do on-demand hot water. So the main thing is that the fact that you have the availability of using less breaker space in the panel, you have no filtration, no softening, and no flushing annually. You can practically give customers instant hot water. Those are definitely some selling points as to why you would want to use true tankless as opposed to all the other electric tankless that are out there on the market. So, Mike, was there anything else specifically that you had looked at that you may want me to talk about more on?
No, I just wanted to say for our group here that, we looked at multiple potential tankless options because there is a demand for it with our customer base. We've been asked about it. And from everything Gabe has told me and everything I've seen, I really believe that True Tankless is the one out there that really separated themselves from everybody else. And as you guys that have been customers of ours for a long time know, we like to focus on new innovative products that help people. And I think this really goes above and beyond what we've seen on the market. And the fact that now you have something where, and listen, plumbers, if you want to still do a maintenance call on this, you can. But as Gabe was saying, it's not something that's necessary because of the way it's been designed. So, we're not trying to take money out of your pocket and eliminate the service calls to go back, but it's an option for a customer. Hey, look, you can put this one in, you're going to see me every 6 months to clean it, or you can go with something like True Tankless where you never have to see me again, really, and it's going to last a lot longer and save you even more money as opposed to the other tankless electric ones that are out on the market.
Yeah, and just to go over a couple questions just to end, these are common questions from plumbers that they're generally going to ask, right? Like, what's the warranty? Warranty is 5 years parts, lifetime warranty on that heat exchanger. What's the flow rate of a true tankless? Well, the true tankless has 5 different kW settings in one box. So it's technically one unit, and you can set it out in the field based on the power panel that is there for the house and the number of bathrooms. But it can be set to 14, 20, 24, 29, and 36 kilowatt for the residential. Another thing that people are going to ask is does it need an expansion tank? No. If the house has water hammering, of course, you're going to probably want to put an expansion tank. There's no other requirements needed for this product. So you're literally trying to do a plug and play application with this by just putting in your 3/4 in, 3/4 out ball valve on the cold side. Probably put a TNP line. I don't know how New Jersey jurisdiction is on the plumbing code, but with tankless electric water heaters, there's no TNP that are required. Our product doesn't require it, but if you need to put it in there because you're going to have a somebody inspector-wise going to be there and pulling permits, then I would definitely do it out of the hot side. Okay, so that the IAPMO code 608.3 usually states that anything under 3 inches in diameter does not require a temperature and pressure relief valve. So we have a 1-inch pipe that white thermal ceramic coated heat exchanger is with. But those are kind of some of the questions that some of the plumbers would ask. I wanted to go over those real quick.
Great. And obviously, guys, if you have questions and, Gabe hasn't answered them today, or I can't answer them for some reason, I'm sure Gabe's going to be quite available for us. I'll be happy to get you the answers on anything going forward.
And there's a on truetankless.com, trutankless.com, we have a digital toolbox as well, Mike. The digital toolbox is literally every downloadable PDF that we have between the dip switches and the customer brochure and then the service professional brochure, the sample load calculation sheet, and everything on there is going to be available for these guys to be able to pull up and download themselves or print.
Yeah, and I think one question as well that came to mind for me, there are different ways to set the residential version and the commercial version.
Yeah.
How easy is that for the guy in the field to actually set that based on?
As soon as they pull out the unit, you take the cover off, and by the computer board in the lower left-hand portion of where kind of like where the screen is, there are little small switches that they'll be able to do with a pen or something like that. Just kind of like a dip switches on an Navien or like an AC unit compartment board. They're gonna end up having that as well. So they're pretty easy to get.
Oh, okay, and that's one of the PDFs on the True Tankless website also? Okay, yep. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I just want to head back to the presentation side of this for a minute and talk about discounts that we're offering. So today we talked about True Tankless, Coletti, and Smart Valve. What we're offering for all the webinar attendees today is on the True Tankless residential model, we're offering a discount of $150. If you get 3 or more, we're offering a discount of $225. The Coletti items, as you guys will see when you go online and on some of the products we showed already, our pricing is top notch, but we're still willing to offer an additional 5% discount on all orders over $750. By the way, any Coletti items, you get free shipping at $250 or more. And we're also offering 10% off of all smart valves through the 7th. We'll probably extend that a couple extra days for those who have to view this presentation afterwards. But the codes are on here. For the smart valve, you'd use webinar 10 off. And for Coletti, you would use webinar 5 off $750. And as we said, for the Coletti, the minimum order is $750. The smart valve, there is no minimum. If you buy a smart valve, you pay you get the 10% discount. For the True Tankless purchases, just give us a call directly or email us. We'll be able to process that for you. For smart valve or Coletti items, you can go right to our website, getsmartvalve.com, click on our online store, and you'll be able to do that. Also, if you see a Coletti item, you'll see a Coletti section on our website, the entire Coletti catalog. If you see an item in there that's not on our store yet, like as I said, we're starting to add SKUs in. We've already put up about 500, but there's probably, I'm not sure, Cody, but I'm sure there's probably about 10,000 SKUs for
There's a lot. Yeah.
So we're as we get more interest in each item, we're starting to add SKUs in. But if you see something there that you don't find on our online store, there's a simple form on our website. If you go to Coletti, and you'll see a link to provide us with the OEM numbers. We're happy to quote out anything that's not up on the online store yet, but eventually, probably not today, probably not tomorrow, probably not this summer, we're going to have all the Coletti items up on our online store. Should be able to purchase them. And that's really it for me. That was the last slide. So we're going to end the recording now. Please give us a call when you